Welcome to Parenthood Bites, the podcast where we explore life as a parent in tech. I'm your host, Chow, and I have over 15 years of experience in tech, and I'm also currently working as a career coach. I'm the proud mother of 3 incredible boys. In each episode, we have an inspiring guest who will share their remarkable story. You'll find their wisdom and insights both relatable and enriching, because after all, we're all in this parenting journey together. So grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 19 of Parenthood Bites. We're here today with Andrew Tio, who is located in the Bay Area and is a staff front-end engineer at Proper. Hi Andrew.
Hello, Chow.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
Good, except for the rain. It's been hard walking my dog in this rain, so I'm hoping after this interview it'll die down a little bit and we can go.
I like the rain myself. I like being inside when it's raining.
Yeah, it's nice and cozy inside, right? But then I used to like that too, but then once I got a dog, I'm like, how am I going to walk
I
her?
know.
Like she has a raincoat.
She has a raincoat?
Yeah, she has a pink raincoat. It has a little hoodie. She does not like wearing it. When I put it on her, she doesn't really know what to do. But I don't have little rain boots for her though. I tried to put it on her, but she won't let me. I put one on, and when I'm putting the other one on, she takes off the first one. And so it's like constantly I'm fighting trying to put it back on, so I had to return it.
Oh, it's too
Yeah.
bad.
And also my umbrella. My youngest one, he left his umbrella at school yesterday, so he took my umbrella today. So
Yes.
I don't know. We'll improvise, I guess. I wanted to start with just asking, how many kids do you have and what are their ages?
I have one daughter. She's 2, or turning 2 in January, and another one on the way, actually, in January.
Wow, that's really exciting. So both of your kids will have January birthdays?
Yes. And we're not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll see.
Because, a lot of people try to, when their kids have birthdays in the same month, they try to say like, oh, let's do a joint birthday party. But then the kids hate it, right? When they get older.
Exactly. So that's what we're being wary of.
I know usually, the due date and the actual date can be different, but is the due date close to your first kid's birthday?
Yeah, the due date is, I think, like 3 or 4 days apart. So we'll see what happens. They also say the second one comes a little bit earlier, so maybe there'll be some distance there.
Yeah, that was my experience with my 3. My first one was a week earlier than the due date. My second one was 2 weeks earlier. And then the third one was 3 weeks earlier.
Oh,
So,
wow.
is there a chance your second one would be due in December?
I'm crossing my fingers because I'm not quite ready for her to come in December, but I guess there's always the chance. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for the listeners out there, this episode will be released on February 26th, but we're talking in mid December. And so, when this episode is released, Andrew's second kid will be born. So, then we will know exactly
boy.
when. So, you'll be well into having 2 kids by the time this is released.
Yeah, maybe I'll play this for her and see what happens. I mean, hopefully she doesn't scream or something. Maybe she'll stay relaxed. I don't know.
Yeah, she might like it. So, you might have to just play this episode over and over again.
Is that my dad?
Yeah. So,
But he's here.
yeah. No, when you're at work or something, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you can
Yeah.
play it to put her to sleep, or the
Yeah.
other way around.
I hope that works. Well, with my first one, Isabel, she I don't know. It was hard to put her to sleep.
Yeah, I bet the baby years are always really tough.
hmm
So what brought you to tech, and how many years have you been in tech?
Yeah, I've been in tech since, what was that, 2009, fall of 2009, where I met you. So what is that now? 14 years. What brought me here is that I'm originally from the Bay Area. I was going to college in LA, and then knew that I kind of wanted to get into web development, and saw the blossoming tech industry up here. Plus, all my family's here, so I figured, go back home, see all my old friends, chill with family, and hopefully hopefully start a career there. And here we are. So a lot of it's timing, but also very lucky to have grown up kind of where all this, where the hub of tech happened.
Listeners can't see, but I was smiling when I was asking you that question because I remember when you had interned at the company I was at, and it was a video game review company. And I think you were very passionate about video games. So you
Hmm.
wanted to go and intern there.
Yes, yes. I was I was thinking about it when I booked your time for this chat. I was thinking about how I would always bother you at 4:30, like half an hour before you had to go, almost every day, like clockwork.
And it was funny because I had a really long commute home. And at that time, I was pregnant with my first child.
Hmm.
And I think for the longest time, you didn't know.
I
And
had no
so
idea.
I had like morning sickness and all this stuff. So I was just like, oh my gosh, let me just make it through the day and go home. And you were like, okay, let me get all my questions out of the way before she goes home.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, I was also like, oh man, she hates me because like she, uh, I just keep coming to her like 30 minutes before, which is like by itself like not the greatest thing. But then I thought I thought you were just annoyed at me all the time, and it turns out you were having a kid.
Yeah, it was just morning sickness. It definitely wasn't you. And I think I've spent many years explaining that to you.
I know.
Andrew and I have a little history because we worked together at that place. And then later on, we worked again together at another startup. And so we joke about that a lot because I was pregnant with my third child at that startup. And by then, Andrew already knew how,
Mm.
how my experiences with pregnancy. But then we had another colleague who also thought I hated him because he worked with me when I was going through morning sickness as well. Turns out I don't hate them. I guess I just struggle a lot with morning sickness and, commuting to work because we didn't have the luxury of being remote at those times.
Hmm.
I thought I handled it very well, but I guess to
No,
them, they were traumatized
no,
by
you
it.
did, you did. My wife had morning sickness that was a little bit worse the second time around, and so I definitely got to see like what it what it was like up close, and so I was like, oh man, yeah, Chow also handled that really well for like this fresh out of college kid bothering her like once she was trying to leave.
It's interesting, right? Because I think for me too, with the second kid, it was worse. And then with the third kid, the morning sickness was the absolute worst. Like I joke a lot and say, if I had that morning sickness experience with the third kid, with the first kid, then I probably would only have one kid.
Oh,
Is your
yeah.
wife really experiencing a lot worse with the second one?
The second one did seem like a lot worse. It came early. She got it like pretty quickly, and then I think it also lasted a little longer. So she had to deal with that.
Yeah, I bet. That's tough. Does she get to work from home?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good. That makes it a little bit better, right? Then you can rest instead of running to the bathroom.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
So, how many years were you working in tech when you became a parent?
So Isabel was born Jan 22. So I guess that's about 12, 13-ish years in tech.
Yeah, so for all the years we worked together, unfortunately, when you became a parent, we stopped working
Hmm.
together. That was when I went to another company, so I didn't get to see the Andrew post children.
You did call out my gray hairs before we started this, and it's true. It's true. I'm a little different now.
I I did because you're so much younger than me, so I was surprised that you had, they look silver though. It makes you look very wise.
I'm hoping they all, yeah, I hope they all go silver. We could try the silver fox thing when I'm a little bit in a few years, maybe. I don't
It
know.
does look like you
Uh,
purposely streaked it. It doesn't
oh, really?
You don't just look old. You don't look old, actually. It just looks like you have little streaks of silver, which is why it like sparkled. So I
Yeah.
noticed it. So what was the parental leave like when you had your first child?
I was still at Marquetta where we had worked together, and the parental leave policy was pretty generous as far as like how I understood parental leave to be for the fathers. I think it was like 12 weeks paid. So very generous, and they kind of let me split it up as well. So it was pretty awesome in my opinion. What we did was I did 6 weeks up front when Isabel was born, and then saved the other 6 weeks for when my wife went back to work. And so I spent the latter 6 weeks with Isabel kind of on my own at home. But that was really nice because I got a lot of personal time with her while she was also already kind of like sleep trained and she could sit up and everything. So we just played a lot.
That's really great. I think my husband only had 2 weeks, and he actually didn't take the 2 weeks until after I went back to work. So it was nice for him that he was able to spend that time with the kids too.
Hmm.
But 12 weeks, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's really nice that you're able to split it up too. Then you can kind of pick and choose when you want to do it. When you split it up, was it that you had to use that second half within the first year?
Yeah, I believe that was how that worked. Yeah.
Got it. And how was it going back to work after taking the 6 weeks? Both of your 6 weeks, did you struggle kind of transitioning back to work?
Not too much, because I think like the team was pretty self-sufficient. At least the team that I was on at that time. I think the biggest thing was that there were a lot of changes as like Marquetta was in continuing to be in its like growing phase. That was also, I guess, still considered like tail end of the pandemic, right? So a lot of people were working remotely. But I mean, other than just being back after 6 weeks, like kind of jumping right back into it was okay.
Nice. And then you were able to work remotely as well, right?
Yeah, that's been kind of the luckiest thing about all this, I guess, is the timing. I think the fact that it was kind of during or a little after the pandemic, and Marquette had been good about keeping folks remote. I kind of lucked out, so it's been nice to be home and watch Isabel grow in her early years.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really, really nice thing to have. So, with your second child, you're at a different startup. What is that parental leave going to be like?
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think, about 8 weeks, but it's gonna also be. I mean, they gave me the option to do like the unpaid like 4 weeks because I think California requires like 12 weeks to be offered. But I'm working on the timing because it's also we want to continue to work on our product, so I might split it up a little differently than I did with Isabel. But they're also very supportive of this, and very grateful also that they're being very flexible. But we've got a awesome team there as well.
Nice. And you're able to be remote there as well, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, because half the team is remote, so or sorry, half the team is like outside of California, so we kind of naturally have to be remote.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you do for childcare?
We actually have a nanny come over, and she kind of watches her during the day just downstairs. Yeah, I didn't feel too comfortable taking to any of those like early daycares. And our nanny's great. Like Isabel loves her. She like kind of asks about her even after she leaves. Like, oh, where is she?
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So we have a nanny at home, but it's nice because that way she still gets, the attention from someone, and then for us, it's comforting because we can just go down and see how things are going.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
if Isabel's like shouting about something, we can go check and see what she needs.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are getting ready to get nannies for their newborns or toddlers, how did you find your nanny and what was your interview process like?
Yeah, we put in the ad in like a Chinese newspaper. There's a lot of like Chinese like sort of caretakers and nannies in our area. We're kind of like close to Cupertino, right? So we put an ad in like a newspaper for some of like this, I guess that they sell at like the supermarkets. And a few people have answered.
We did that.
a few people answered, and we just invited them over to kind of meet Isabel. Ask them like things like if they could kind of drive themselves around, or if they needed transportation, what were their past experiences caring for other children like, what were their ages, do they mainly speak to them in Mandarin or not. I think for us it was kind of important to have someone who spoke Mandarin around Isabel. We try, but our Mandarin's not that good. We joke that like she kind of currently knows more than we do now. Like she teaches us like the words for like concrete mixer. It's like it's because it's in her book, and like the nanny taught her that. But we'll be driving and she sees one, and there was one time where we just like had no idea what she was talking about, and then we came home and she pointed at the book. That was important to us. Sometimes we ask if they're like, willing to help a little bit around the house or like make food for Isabel, but we don't hold them to that all that much. It's really about kind of keeping the child entertained, giving her the attention she needs. So that's how that went.
Yeah, that's pretty similar to my experience as well. We had posted in front of supermarkets, and we actually went through a couple of nannies before got the final nanny, or a few nannies. Like there was one that came for like a day, and then she's like, I live too far.
Oh,
And so she stopped coming. She's like, I'm going to go work at a gas
oh,
station. I was like, okay, I guess. Yeah. And then there was this other one who came, and then she's like, I'm going to go work at Ranch 99. Okay. And then we had one for our oldest, and she was here up until like the week before we were going to give birth to the second one. And
oh,
then she's
wow.
like, I'm out. Like, she just didn't want to take care of two. But like, you're going to tell
Yeah.
us right before the second one, you know? But then we didn't realize that was actually a blessing in disguise, because the final nanny we found that came to take care of the second and the third one, she was amazing, because the other one was like on her phone a lot, and I didn't know how to tell her to not be on her phone as much. But this one was like, she would only be on her phone to show things to my kid, like, certain songs or certain animals or something. And, she would keep downstairs really clean. I think that was the cleanest her downstairs was. And then, similar to you, she would teach certain terms to the kid, and we were just like, whoa, what is he
Hmm.
saying? And then he would show it to us, and we're like, oh, dang, we just
Hmm.
learned a new word.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like our youngest, his Chinese was really good with her around. And since she's been gone, his Chinese has really declined. We haven't done a good
Oh,
job of like keeping it up.
it's hard. It's hard.
It is, especially when you talk to your partner in English, right? Then it's like
Hmm.
hard to force the kid to
Yeah.
speak Chinese, even though everyone's like, you have to make sure he gets better. And we're like, I know, I have to, because his brothers are better. It's just the third one is not as good.
Mm. I see. Yeah, I mean it's hard to like keep up the. I don't know how we're gonna do it. I even think about, I was in a Chinese like immersion program through eighth grade, and my Chinese was like stellar. And after that, in high school, I just took a Mandarin class on Saturdays, and I lost it all. I mean, one day I think a week is not enough. Like the immersion is what kind of really helps them, grow and learn more quickly. So we'll see. We're actually looking at some daycares for Isabel, and there's a few immersion ones around here. We're just considering. They're also kind of like Montessori. I mean, some of them, or they just kind of like are a little more STEM focused already, even for like 2-year olds, where it's like they're gonna do some worksheets. I'm like, worksheets at 2 years old. I'm not sure about that. But all the play based ones are not immersion programs. So we're still deciding.
Yeah, we had found a immersion Montessori one, and similar. We had looked at all different kinds of preschools, and like there was one that was just play based, and they had like farm animals in the yard, and we were like, okay, you let your chickens in the house and stuff. I don't know. And then there was one that was like the extreme to the other side, where they were like, kids get 15-minute break, and then they do like speech and math and science. I'm like, they're
Hmm.
two. What are, and
Yeah.
she was like, we even record them doing speeches, and then we tell them how they can improve. I'm like, but they're two. I don't understand. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, it's really crazy how extreme it is. Like, we just wanted one that was like a balance, it had play, but
Yeah,
also
yeah,
taught them like, basics.
yeah, yeah. It's hard to find one where it's like structured, but also they play more than like 30 minutes outside.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's I don't know, maybe it just doesn't work out in terms of the timing. I'm not sure.
And the really good ones have like long wait lists, right? So
Hmm.
I think it's good you're looking early and then give it time and interview a lot of different ones, and you'll know when you find the right one.
Yeah, yeah. We're actually going to go look at one tomorrow morning. We'll see. We're thinking like Isabel probably won't start until maybe March. We're thinking like at least 6 weeks after the second baby is born. That way she doesn't bring in, all those germs
Yeah.
and get everyone sick in those early weeks.
Yeah. There's a lot of that
I heard you get sick for like
ever.
the whole year, the first year, right?
Yeah. When the kids are in preschool, I think, and daycare, it's like there was a time where I was like, there's always someone sick in the family. Like,
Hmm.
did our immunity just go away or what? But it's just they bring in all kinds of stuff. And so everyone
Yeah.
just takes turns getting sick. And especially with the newborn, right? Before they get all their
Hmm.
shots, you want to be careful about that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So currently, what is your day-to-day routine like?
It's pretty funny. Isabel knocks on my door in the morning at like 8:30. She goes, "Baba, I'm ready for bagel." So that's like all part of the routine now. She and I have a bagel in the morning. The nanny's usually here by that time, but we have a bagel in the morning, grab some coffee. And I mean, I just, kind of go about my day starting around 9. Isabel is how am I giving like like am I giving too much of a play by play, I guess here?
It's however detailed you want it to be.
I just wanted to share that one because that one's like the best part of my day is when she knocks on my door and asks for a bagel.
That's really cute. Does she sleep on her own?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
She sleeps on her own. She's usually been awake for like an hour and a half by that point because she wakes up at 7.
Wow. And then she just plays by herself until.
Oh no, like I'm a late sleeper and I wake up a little bit later.
So
So
your wife wakes up first
Jessica and my mother-in-law help out in the morning
until it's bagel time.
until it's bagel time. Yeah. So thanks to Jessica's mom, if you're listening, it's it's super helpful.
So it sounds like, you get her ready and then the nanny takes care of her. And then what time does the nanny leave? And then you're taking care of her again.
The nanny leaves at around kind of like 4:30 on in the winter, 5 o'clock when there's a little more light out. She has a bit of a drive, so we let her go while there's still a little bit of light out. And then we'll take over and just kind of sometimes Isabel's hungry at that time, sometimes not. Just kind of depends on how the day went. But we'll make her like a little bit of a snack and then just play for a little while until she's ready to have dinner. The time in between that's all the same most days, right? She likes playing market right now. We'll do a little bit of that hide and seek, but she peeks.
So what time do you put her down to bed?
Yeah, we try and start the bedtime routine at around 7:15, and it's kind of this routine of bath. Then, if she washed her hair, we'll do the hair dryer, and then read some books. She has these toy rings that she calls bagels that she gives to her stuffed animals, so she'll distribute that before bed. Say goodnight to like this drawing of a moose that I drew for her. I mean, because she really liked the moose in the one of the Sandra Boynton books. And so I drew that for her and taped it to her wall. So she says goodnight to that. And then yeah, she turns on her own white noise machine, which we're like trying to wean her off of. it's very quiet now. And yeah, that's kind of the bedtime routine. She gets to bed at around 8:15, 8:30, although she is firmly in her 2-year-old sleep regression right now where she really fights it. Did any of your kids go through that? I mean, I think it's fairly common.
Yeah, I mean, it's so long ago. I barely remember. It's all a blur.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
I'm sure, yeah, I guess at this point that's true. It's just it's like a drop in the bucket of like tantrums and stuff that you've experienced.
and plus because there's three of them. Well, I guess like with Darian, when he reached two, his brother was born, and so we were focused on
Mm.
the baby, and then he would come over sometimes, but it's like, sorry, there's no space for you. There's a baby here
Oh
on the bed.
no.
And so then, like, one of us would go stay with him, one of us
Uh-huh.
would stay with the baby, and then the other one was born when he was three.
Mm.
So, like, he got more time in our bed. We weren't as disciplined as y'all to have them sleep on their own
No, I
before
mean,
one.
whatever works for people, right?
Yeah, because, I got too lazy walking back and forth. So eventually it was like one with baby, one with Darian.
Uh-huh.
And then, like, when the third one was born, we had to kick out the second one. And then, and then it was like one with the older two, one with the baby until the older two started like playing with each other
Uh-huh.
and keeping each other company.
Uh-huh.
Then we were like, okay, we
Uh,
don't have to go over there as much.
yeah.
And then the youngest one, I think, stayed in our room the longest because there was no baby to kick him out.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Yeah, we were pretty rigid from the start about sleep training Isabel and having her like in a sleep in her own room because we
yeah.
had been reading about kind of that and that topic and we liked the idea of it.
No, that's really good.
But it doesn't work for everybody. There were times where I've definitely early on, I was like, oh, I don't like hearing her cry was like really tough.
The cry it out method,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Yeah, that's the hardest. Like, we would just be outside and then hearing, and
yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, I have to go in. And my husband's like, no,
yeah.
you have to stay out.
It was actually the opposite with us. I was the one who wanted to go in, and my wife was like, "No, it's gonna be okay," and it did turn out to be okay. But yeah, it's tough like the first couple of nights. But it was we knew we wanted to do it, especially because like Isabel, starting at like 2 months, she could kind of sleep through the night. And I think at that point we were waking her for like the middle of the night feedings. And so it was like, okay, there's lots of potential for this to work out for us. So that was a factor there. With this 2-year regression, we're still trying that. She's not only just crying, she's like saying things as she's crying, and so it's heartbreaking, but it's going okay. I think she's getting better. We'll see.
Definitely. It's hard to have that balance, right? To be
Yeah.
tough, but also it's like it's your baby, so you want
Oh
to
yeah.
comfort them and take care of them, but you're also like, I got to be strong.
Hmm. And there's like I think even before having kids, I had this notion of what it would, or I thought I had an idea of like what it would be like, and then you're presented with like the thing that actually happens with your kid, and you're like, oh, there's like very many ways that I could approach this, and I have to stop and think and make sure I pick the one that I'm not also going to regret later.
Yeah, and that gets harder and harder as they get older.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. One time she didn't want to take a shower or take a bath, but then she had mentioned something about her vest. And I was like, you want to take a bath with your vest?" And she was like, "Yes." And she hopped right into the bath and she was like, "It's time for my vest." And my wife and I looked at each other and she was like, "Oh, look, I guess he shouldn't have said that." And I was like, "Yeah, that was a mistake." And that wasn't like the only time she has bathed with her vest.
Wait, so you let her in with the
Well, I
vest?
mean, it was something that I had basically said yes to, right? So I didn't kind of want to go back on my word there. And it's not that she like actually took a bath in it. It was like after she had bathed, she wanted to wear the vest while she was still playing in in the tub. I was like, okay, that's not like the worst thing. But yeah, so gotta be careful what you say.
You learn as you go.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you said, that's not the worst thing.
It isn't, yeah. But definitely not one of the things I thought would ever happen. But here we are because I said something. I said yes.
And kids are
They
creative.
are. Oh yeah.
It's crazy the things they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So, how has your work life changed since you became a parent?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm someone who definitely likes to kind of put in a little bit extra time in the evenings. I just naturally kind of like, and not just like towards the end of the day, but even, at night, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I want to check on this thing because I'm a little bit of a night owl. And so I do like to do a little bit of work at night, but having Isabel definitely changed that because I, want to spend more time with her, and it's an easy decision, but it's definitely a change. Yeah, that's probably the biggest way that it's shifted since she joined us here.
So, you find yourself like logging on to work less at night.
A little bit less at night. I'll still, after she goes to bed, I'll still check on some things, but definitely in that window where it's like just us with her, we try to give her as much attention as possible. And it's fun. I mean, I've always liked I have a lot of younger cousins, so I've always liked I grew up kind of playing with cousins who are younger than me. And so it's fun kind of just letting her lead play and then trying to follow along.
So, what has been your biggest struggle or challenge being a parent in tech?
Yeah, my personal biggest struggle is I know that I naturally kind of want to raise my voice, like not really yell, but get a little bit, louder and stern, especially in the moments where she's, doing something that we don't necessarily want her to do, like standing on her high chair or hanging on a table. But yeah, I think those don't always help. I think one time I raised my voice with her, and now when she wants to do the thing that she knows is a little bit dangerous, she just yells too. She goes like, no, no, no. But she still does it. And so obviously it didn't really, I mean, she has the awareness, but she'll still do it. And so just trying to find a different approach. One thing we've started to ask is like, do you feel safe? And then she'll be like, oh, I'm actually a little bit high. I have fallen from a chair before. So
She'll have that awareness.
yeah, yeah. So just trying not to like kind of lose my cool in the moment. That's been kind of like the biggest challenge.
The listeners can't see my expression, but I was a little surprised when you were like, I raised my voice a lot. Because in all the years I've known you, I think the one time you raised your voice was when we had a discussion about, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a lunch discussion about whether the Avatar movie was better or the Marvels movies.
Oh, yeah,
And you
I
were
remember.
so passionate about that, but in all other times you had not raised your voice except for that one time.
I I just yeah. I was not impressed with the Avatar movie. The blue, the blue people, the James Cameron one, because I had felt like I'd seen that in Fern Gully and stuff like that. But yes, I was definitely passionate about it that one lunch. Was it at Ross?
Yes, he was saying
Oh.
Avatar was better, and we were all like, "Nah, man." But you were the most passionate. You were so.
I was like, "What?"
And for the record, I think for this conversation, we're talking about the James Cameron Avatar movie. But I think for the record, Airbender, that Avatar movie sucked.
Oh yeah, that first one. Yeah. Hopefully Netflix does a good job.
So yeah, that was the one time I saw you raise your voice the most. That's why I was like, "What? You raise your voice a lot?" That was the one time.
Wow, I forgot about
See, it left such an imprint in my mind because
Yeah,
you were so, so mad about that. I don't think you
yeah.
got over it for the rest of the day.
Sorry, Ross. Yeah. No, I don't, I definitely don't, and I've always been, like, probably a little bit different at home, just probably a little a little bit louder than I am usually at work. But, yeah, especially when it comes to, like, Isabel part of me is just like, no, because I get paranoid about her hurting herself or whatever. And
Of course.
I know like some of the Montessori books that I've read have said, kind of let them figure it out. And I'm just like, but what if they're too late in figuring it out? Oh, they're like, I think some practices say don't like childproof your cabinets and stuff and let them kind of figure it out. I'm like, damn, will I lose a finger? Um, and
Yeah.
so even in this whispered tone, you could see my urgency in the losing a finger part of what I just said. So it's just trying not to let the emotions get the better of me in the moment. But we definitely childproof our cabinets.
I was going to ask. So did you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not risking that.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you do to achieve work-life balance?
I'd like to think that I have a decent one, or at least it's better than like before I had kids. Because the whole like kind of not working after the nanny leaves. That's like the biggest change for me. Let me think. Yeah, I mean I think that's the biggest thing as far as work-life balance goes. Weekends too. I mean, this year we weren't very good about taking time off still. We definitely realized that like a couple weeks ago. So we want to get better at just kind of going on trips. We took Isabel to like LA and Monterey, but we haven't gone on any longer trips. We definitely want to kind of take her to see Taiwan and some of like my relatives in the Philippines, but we're not sure how that how that flight will go. So we're gonna try and ease into it with some other longer trips first, just not as long as those, right? So haven't been good about the time off, but I think I feel pretty good about the time we spend in the morning and the evening. And I like to go and check on her kind of throughout the day and just ask her how she's doing. She goes to the park every day, so I go like, what'd you do at the park? Who'd you see? What'd you play with? It's just been nice to like work from home. I feel really lucky that this happened, I guess, at this point of my career because, seeing you have, 3 kids, you go back into the office. I'm sure that was hard for you. I wouldn't know if I'd like it as much um, if I had to still kind of always go into an office because it's been so nice to kind of just see her throughout the day.
Definitely. I think thinking back, especially with the longer commutes, it was like tough. And even with my kids at their age right now, I can't imagine. Like, I'm hoping I don't get another job where I do have to go in
Hmm.
office because once you've been home with the kids, it's hard to then go back.
Yeah. My wife also gets to work from home, and so it's nice that we also get to interact, and it's just good all around, I think.
Yeah. And if you do decide to travel with 2 young kids at that point, definitely I have some tips so you can
Mhm.
reach out to me.
Definitely.
But we also talked about it a little bit in episode 9. There was another guest who talked about, some travel tips with little
Mhm.
kids. But I will say, definitely get a seat for
Yeah.
them because you're going to be like, well, they're little. I can keep them on my lap. Let me save on that money. Oh my gosh, you'll be full of regret because I know
Mhm.
I was. When I was like, I'm just going to save on that money. Oh my gosh, a 13-hour flight with a kid on your lap is not fun at all.
I already can't feel my legs.
So, what do you do to unwind, relax? I know you used to play a lot of video games. Is
Mhm.
that still a thing you do or
Yeah, that's still a thing, and it's been something that I haven't had to give up as much as I initially thought I would because Isabel's been such a great sleeper. Like she'll sleep that kind of 8:30 to 7, and she's been doing that since 4 months, I think it was. So been able to do that, and that really helps me get my rest in and recharge. I'm very much an introvert too, so I need a lot of like that downtime. It's the biggest thing. Just having that time in the evenings. I don't need much else. So it's been nice. That's an also reason why we kind of did the sleep training and we're kind of sticking with it during this regression right now because I think we kind of need that time. Like I think if we had changed our sleeping habits or anything like that, then it would affect not only our downtime but also like how we slept, right? So we found that was really important to us.
So, what are your plans for the second baby? Are you going to put her in the same room as Isabel or?
Yeah, well, initially, we have we ended up getting like a snoo kind of couple months after Isabel was born. She originally had a different sort of like crib, but we ended up kind of trying out the snoo and we liked it. So we have the snoo kind of set up in our room. And so we plan to have the second one in our room for, the first 3 or 4 months. And then we'll also try and sleep train her. Need to figure out like if that happens in the same room. But the idea is that, yeah, eventually they'll share a room and hopefully enjoy each other's company.
I'm sure eventually they will. But at first, it might be a little hard because if the baby's crying, it might wake up
Yeah.
Isabel. And
Yeah, and so I think we'll have to see what the schedules look like, and if it doesn't work out initially, then we can. I think right now we have like another spare room that we could try and convert. Right now we have like our offices, but we could give it up and have someone sleep have one of them sleep in the other room.
yeah, like I gave up my Hello Kitty room.
Yeah, yeah,
That was my office. It
yeah.
was all pink with Hello
I
Kitty on the
know.
walls. And yeah,
Do you still get to build on that at all? That collection?
I mean, I still have Hello Kitty stuff, but it's moved to our
Oh.
bedroom because that room
Uh-huh.
is now belonging to a kid.
Yeah.
And he keeps some of the Hello Kitty up because he doesn't want to hurt my feelings, but
Oh.
he's also put a lot of like superhero stickers up on the wall so that when he talks to his friends and stuff, they're not like, "Why is there a Hello Kitty on your wall?" He said he had to answer so many of those
Oh,
questions
no.
when during COVID when they had to go to
Uh-huh.
school in their rooms. There was a big old Hello Kitty on the back, and
Oh.
he has since moved it.
Uh,
And for the listeners that don't know, and also for me, what is the snoo exactly?
Oh, the snoo is this crib that also has, like, this rocking sort of mechanism.
Oh, so just a fancy crib, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. It's quite fancy. I was very reluctant at first, but we had heard so many good things from like my wife's friends about it. Initially, we didn't have like a nanny or anything, right? And so it kind of helps with kind of keeping the baby soothed for a little bit longer by rocking them. The higher speeds are a little bit scary, so we don't like cross level 2 or level 3 or something like that. But like we have that in our room. We'll probably use that with the second kid.
And I think you can probably resell it after.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I've seen some get sold also on like Facebook Market and stuff like that.
So the last question I like to ask is what's something that you would tell someone who's going to have kids or something you wish you knew before becoming a parent?
I feel so strongly about like how good remote work has been on a personal level that that's something that I would kind of recommend people at least try and look for. I know, things aren't always like as easy. Like I can say that it's tough to find. And I know some companies are kind of moving back to more in-person time, but that was so nice, and I've been really grateful for that kind of happened, while I was having kids. So I feel really lucky there. Something I wish I knew. I think I knew parenting would be hard, and people do say it's hard, but a lot of I feel like a lot of times when at least from my experience, like talking to friends who have had kids, they don't talk about the hard times as much, and you're not as aware. And this is in general, I guess, not just for folks in tech, but it is challenging. And I think it's okay to say that things are challenging. Maybe, there's like this thing where you don't want to say how hard it can get because you love your kid and you'll do anything for your kid. And that's true, but it's hard. It's like, and like I mentioned, like you get presented with these scenarios like suddenly in the moment because they grow so quickly and you just don't know when they're going to take that next leap into understanding what's happening around them. And, you think you think you might answer one way, and in the moment it can change, right? And so there's a lot of thinking on your feet as much as you try and plan things out. So I think that's something that I wasn't as aware of. I was probably a little more ignorant, but yeah.
Yeah. Wait till they ask you about how, how you got a baby
Yeah.
in your belly. It's like you think you'll answer a certain way, but
Hmm.
then you're like, oh gosh, huh,
Yeah.
go ask daddy.
Did you have to say that twice with like your oldest one? Because your oldest was probably still pretty young when your third was on the way, right?
Yeah, well, he didn't ask at that time. He
Oh.
was still pretty young. And then I think it was later they would ask.
Mm.
And at first I'm like, well, there's this little bird, the stork. And then it's like, then they get older and you're like, do you want them saying that in school? Would they look dumb? But then do you want them to know the truth? Would they, would that be weird?
Yeah.
But also, two kids is definitely a lot more work than one. But once you have two, then the third one is just adds on, right? It then just becomes a blur. So
Yeah. I bet.
so just be ready for, two kids definitely is a lot more work, but it
Hmm.
is a lot of fun, and it is a lot of fun to see them interact and play together, and the
Yeah.
sweet moments are really sweet. Some of the moments might make you want to rip your hair out, but then
Hmm.
those moments pass and then it becomes really sweet again. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's an adventure for sure.
I'm definitely excited, but also, I'm gonna definitely keep on my toes for seeing how that plays out. But we've been trying to get Isabel to understand that there's someone that's joining the family soon, and I don't know. We think maybe that might also have to do with like the sleep regression. Is maybe she's starting to understand that things are going to change. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, yeah. Keep us updated and, let me know when that baby does arrive and we'll update the show notes with that.
Okay. Yeah.
With an update for the listeners too, because the baby will be born by the time this episode is out.
Hmm.
And yeah, thank you for sharing your story and I wish you the best of luck. I know it'll be awesome and you'll do great. It'll be a fun little adventure.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I mean, it's a lot of fun to chat again. We gotta do this more often. Maybe without the microphones, right?
Yeah. Without recording it,
Yeah.
right? Just have another update at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks a lot and hope you have a awesome Christmas and wish you the best.
Thanks, Chow. You too. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. Take care.
You too.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Parenthood Bites. We hope you found our episode informative and entertaining. If you're a parent in the tech world or know someone who is, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to us at chow@parenthoodbites.co, and we'll be thrilled to add your experiences to our interviews. That's chow, CHIAO, @parenthoodbites.co. And to our potential sponsors out there, if you're a business or know of one that would like to support and partner with our podcast, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can also reach us at chow@parenthoodbites.co. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Until next time, take care and stay curious.